Hey guys, we're here for game 1 of Vici versus Rattlesnakes. This is for the other side of the bracket for today. The winner of this is going to go on to play LGD. The winner of that ends up going to the grand finals and ends up guaranteeing a spot to go to Seattle. So these matches are absolutely huge. If they can win this set and then go on to the next one, it would be really big for these guys.
And that's just a spot to Seattle, not exactly a spot in TI3.
Yeah.
One of them plays in TI3, the other one plays DD. But we're very far from that. Let's actually talk about the matchup here. We have Vici Gaming on one side and Rattle Stars. Is that Rattle Stars or Rattlesnake? See, like I just get so confused.
What is it? Is this
Rattle S Stars.
Okay, so I read something on Reddit. Which team was it for? One of the teams had like a swear word in their name that they it was Batrider. There was some RI was apparently a swear word or like a slang word for a swear word, and they had to star it out, which might be the case here as well. Any ideas?
I thought it was snakes.
What's Nake? N-A-K-E? Is that should I not be saying that? It's off limits. Rattles. Let's just call them Rattles.
Rattles. I
Rattles
mean, rising
gaming.
balls, up snakes, whatever we want to call
I thought
them.
we were going PC. What just happened?
What?
We were
Rising balls? That's PC. It's just balls that are going up in the air. Like, wait, that's actually not PC at all. All right, rising rattlesnakes on the Radiant side. They're gonna be banning out Wisp as well as Shadow Demon here. Darkseer is gonna be the opening pick. Meanwhile, Vici Gaming is gonna be banning out Lifestealer and Batrider. Clockwork and Visage gonna be their opening picks as well. I'm not sure what you put on Compendium. I'm not sure if anybody actually guessed Visage is going to be the most pickup hero on the Eastern scene.
He has been everywhere, man. Like,
I know.
We thought I put down like Shadow Demon or Rubik. Those were supports that were in almost every single game, at least in the Western scene. Tons of Rubik. Don't see it here. Almost never. It's always Visage or Shadow Demon. But Shadow Demon actually gets banned. So
yeah, Shadow Demon's being banned on most of these games as well. Teams have been kind of redefining the pick ban phase. We've seen Nadim and Kun get bans, for example, against LGD.
I think that's just because LGD was playing the hero a lot. Like they drafted him first round every game of G1 League, as far as I knew. Yeah,
but it just shows you teams rather play against Batrider or Magnus, which completely blows my mind compared to Kunkka, right? Yeah, so it's actually very different, and it's actually very refreshing to see. That means we're going to see, like, for example, more of Nyx Assassin, which is kind of a high impact support. Makes big plays all over the game, especially when he's ganking. But Queen of Pain's making a resurgence today as well. Generally, we don't see him too much, or her too much in the Chinese metagame, but we're seeing her pop up time and time again today.
Yep, she gets drafted with the Nyx Assassin, so at the moment, Rattlesnake should be able to do an offlane Darkseer, a mid Queen of Pain, and a support Nyx Assassin. So their lanes are honestly pretty open. If they really want to, they could do a 1v1 matchup in whatever other ways. They could do an aggressive trialing, for example. Vici responds with the Lone Druid, so they've got Lone Druid, Visage, Clockwork, so probably a solo Lone Druid could be against the Darkseer, could be against the Queen of Pain. Clockwork could be offlane. I mean, their lanes are not super easy to predict at the moment. They could really go a lot of ways.
Yeah, I find that Lone Druid I think he wins pretty much every matchup against Queen of Pain or Darkseer, or as well as Nyx Assassin. That's the power you get when you pick up Lone Druid, especially somewhat late in this draft. Generally, you see Lone Druid go a little bit earlier. We're in second ban stage now, and Finrar's Rubik getting a little bit of respect. He's probably one of the best Rubik player, like after Chuan in China, and that's kind of a big deal if you're ever second best after Chuan, because you're born and then you're second best to Chuan. So when you're this good at Rubik, that's a big deal.
And that could be number 2.
There you go. Leshrac and Keeper is going to get banned out on the other side, and Gyrocopter from Rattlesnakes.
Yeah, there's actually no carries drafted yet, other than Lone Druid, of course. So, but most often, Lone Druid isn't always played in the one farming role. He has been quite a bit this tournament so far. There's been a lot of experimentation, especially with long lanes, more so than there were in the past from the Asian scene. But Dragonite banned as well, so another hero that has been seeing a lot of mid play. I can't even remember if teams are doing it specifically. It seems like Dragonite's been popular all over the place. A lot of teams have been playing him, I think.
Yeah, I think you get a ton of versatility when you get Dragonite. We've seen the one-row Dragonite quite rarely now, but when you play the solo mid, you get, for example, if you want some initiation, Shadowblade DK is pretty awesome. And then if you want a little bit more tank, the Drums BKB is gonna give you that frontline sieging Dragonite that you want. So he give you the gank, he give you the damage, he give you the mid-game carry. So because he's so versatile, people kind of just jam it into the solo mid lane every lineup, which he does lose badly against Bat. He loses badly against Queen of Pain as well. So maybe that's why we don't see him, all the freaking time, like the new Magnus, for example.
Yeah, I actually like him in a mid role as well, because when you play him as a hard carry, He usually requires like 2
remaining.
decent items before he actually not only is
Yeah.
survivable, but he's also a good damage
5
dealer.
seconds
Like you can either
remaining.
get Black King bar fast. Most players almost always go like treads with the drum. That way you don't have to get a mana regen item. You have a little bit of mana from the int there. But if you really want to do major damage, you have to get a magic immunity item like a Black King bar, and you have to get a damage item, whether that's
Like a
Shadow Blade or maybe even an
Armlet's not-
armlet.
yeah.
I do that in pubs sometimes, but it does kind of limit your fighting after the team fights. Like after the team fight ends, you have no HP, and you usually have to leave. So it can cost you a bit.
Well,
It's a
we're
lot
not going to
safer
see
mid.
him in this particular game. Maybe a little bit later on this series. Rattlesnake have their lane, like you said, somewhat already apparent, and that's going to be somewhat easier for Vici Gaming to draft around. Generally, what we see from most drafts is that they keep their lanes so kind of unpredictable. Like kind of you talked about how Vici Gaming could lane it however they want. Whereas for Rattlesnake, they're pretty much locked, I want to say. Juggernaut's going to be, I imagine, be involved in the trialing with the next assassin. So that means they're going to be looking to kind of a long-range disabler, whether it's going to be like a Lina as a follow-up stun or maybe even a Jakiro. But we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, their trialing isn't super effective in terms of harass at the moment since they're going to have a double melee with Next Assassin and Juggernaut. We have seen some support Juggernauts, so maybe it could be something weird. I've seen Darkseer in lanes with Juggernauts before. It could get weird. Skywrath Mage actually a little bit more of a random luxury pick. We don't see him a lot, but he does get drafted sometimes. Most likely going to be Vici Gaming's mid hero. Hopefully CTY playing the hero. I would love to see him play that. Super talented player. Skywrath Mage, pretty high skill cap relatively. He's got low HP. He's got really low armor, so you have to be very careful, and you have to know your timings really well with silences and stuff like that. Because he's actually quite good versus Queen of Pain. You can silence for 3 seconds, put a slow, drop the ulti. If you position it correctly, you can definitely nuke people down.
Yeah, I mean, there's a clockwork. So if clockwork gets you the
That's
free
true.
setup, you just nuke all over the place.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the silence is not only good against Queen of Pain. Darkseer likes to usually surge himself in and then try to combo you. You drop a silence on top, and suddenly he's in this awkward position. Same thing against Nyx Assassin. So this is actually one of the more powerful pickup.
5 seconds.
When oh my goodness, Storm Surge
Really?
can get picked here from Rattlesnake as well. I'm not sure whether they're picking into the Skywrath Mage, or it's more like now you have to silence everybody and you only have one of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a very interesting draft.
It's still really surprising, though. I mean, we were just talking about all the easy 1v1 counters. Skywrath Mage is great against Nyx. He's great against Queen of Pain. He can silence Darkseer. He can silence Storm Spirit. If he gets any advantage to Skywrath Mage, he is going to snowball very easily.
Really
if,
easily.
If he
10
gets
seconds
a little bit of mana
remaining.
regen and he goes around the map a bit, he can just solo kill people, rinse,
5
repeat
seconds
endlessly.
remaining.
Storm Spirit is hard countered by single target silences, and Skywrath Mage should be able to land his.
Reserve time.
Yeah, in the past when I think Skywrath Mage first came out, everybody was experimenting him in the solo mid position. Lately, the Chinese seems to be playing him more so as a support, but because there's so much value gained by having a quick, Ancient Steel max, I think maybe even going solo mid is the only choice here. They're taking a ton of time here. I guess if they want to really go deep in the silence mode, they could actually pick up a Puck. I mean, the lane against Queen of Pain, if you want to put Puck mid, is not that bad.
So where would you put the Skywrath then in the tri lane?
They usually run him as a support. So
Support in the tri
yeah,
lane,
early
okay.
kind of concussive shots into silence, and then a single point of arcane bolts. But it's just awkward. I guess tri-lane Clockwork with Visage as well as Skywrath Mage is a decent choice, because you could even get a kill on Juggernaut. Generally, Juggernaut's just immune to most against supports, because he just spins away any kind of slows or stuns. Skywrath Mage drop a silence and you just kind of go ham on him. So
Sounds like a really weird tri
yeah, it sounds like I'm pretty out there when I say that.
Yeah,
but
Clockwork
Vici
is-
Gaming is definitely taking their time.
Yeah, they've got 25 seconds left on the clock, so they don't have to make a decision just yet. Again, it kind of looks like, how's Rattlesnake going to lane this? I'm guessing this is going to be an aggressive tri-lane with the Darkseer Iron Shell. That's kind of what it looks like, because they have a Stormseer as well as a Queen of Pain. Those are solo matchups, and the last hero pick is actually a Spectre, so Lone Druid likely to be the off lane, I guess? I'm really not that sure, but let's go over the players quick. I'll do the Radiant team here. For Rattlesnake, we've got Icy playing the Juggernaut. Kabu is playing the Darkseer. On the mid lane, we've got Lanham playing the Storm Spirit. Luo is playing the Queen of Pain, and the last player is going to be Seg Hearts M playing the next assassin.
Yeah, I think Lamb's actually expecting a solo mid Skywrath Mage. He's actually have this early magic stick, and I don't know what else would be for. I guess if you expect the clock to spam Rocket Flare, it'll be good, but he now knows that clock's going to be going mid because, well, CTY is going to be handling that one. We're going to have ZSMJ playing none other than Spectre, and so far he's on the off lane here. I guess they're trying to dodge. Maybe they're expecting offensive traveling. We're going to see Funra playing a Visage. FY is going to be handling the Skywrath Mage, and last but not least, we're going to see XTT on the safe lane Lone Druid. So this is one of the few instances we're seeing ZSMJ on the off lane, and mostly going to be dodging it. He's got a little bit of pull here. I think double Tango being pulled up.
Yep.
So it should be okay. So Skywrath Mage as a support, pretty decent because of his initiation range is very long, and the 40% slower level 1, very reminiscent of the Venomancer Gale and how Venomancer won a lot trialing. They will see Neo here, or Sagam, on the Nyx Assassin, but decides to not make that go.
And it's a little weird as well that they're actually going aggressive and looking for enemy lanes, because that actually has now revealed what they're doing. So I think this is actually exactly what Rattlesnake want. If we look at the top lane, it's a Juggernaut Darkseer. And we saw something similar to this recently, which was a Clockwork Darkseer against a Lone Druid, because you put the Iron Shell on the Juggernaut, he's going to spin, do some magic damage, and if the Lone Druid gets out of position, this is a really, really bad thing for him.
Yeah, once you get level 2, you could just spin, run him across with the Iron Shell and then start spinning, doing a little bit even body block on top. But they will now, it's not a trial lane that they're facing up against. In fact, it's going to be Bear pulling this one right between the tier 1 and tier 2. Makes it very difficult to dive. A ton of safe farm here from XDT. And how is this trial lane going to work out on the bot lane? I imagine Queen of Pain now swapping on the bot lane, or actually starting on the bot lane. He's going to have a very easy time. Until you get that Ancient Steel at level 2, I don't think you can get a kill against Luo.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tough to get the kill before that. They actually did pick up Soul Assumption. They're going to throw a dagger on her, which doesn't really do that much damage. She came to lane with a lot of extra regen, actually, with 2 sets of tangos and 1 cell, with just a bunch of Ironwood branches on top of that. So she was expecting, I'm pretty sure, it looks like Rattlesnake knew exactly what was coming in these lanes.
Yeah, the dagger was actually quite questionable. Now ZSMG without mana until he actually turns level 2 and get that little bit of regen going on. But to be honest, they don't get that kill till level 2 anyway, so maybe he was actually using it for a little bit of a last hit / harass. Back in the mid lane here, what do you feel has the advantage? Stormstrid, really, really good against most melee heroes, especially if he wants to take that 3rd point into Overload. On the same time, though, you do have very good solo killing potential when you get that Battery Assault at 4, or 3, 4, and even 5, and just get on Lamb and maybe even just zone him out or get a kill.
Yeah, that's what you have to watch out for, is the cogs. If you are going to want to go melee range if you want to harass the Clockwork, so if you get a little too close, you will drain your mana there. And actually, if you look at his skill, the Clockwork is maxing this out first, and it's actually pretty efficient between level 1 and level 2. It's a 50% increase in drain as well as HP damage. If he can land the power cogs and drain Storm Spirit's mana down, this could be really huge, because it's going to prevent him from taking any harass advantage out of it.
Yeah, that cog has a deceptively large AoE, especially when Storm Spirit only has 480 attack range. You could kind of get him pretty good. Looks like we have Neo can find himself a regen rune. Hasn't spent a single point of mana, so I think he's waiting for Storm to grab it. Yes, Storm is going to grab it. If you look at Neo, he's got no EXP. And meanwhile, they're going to make it go on Luo. Dagger, silence, she's going to blink away. Don't get the kill, but that's not exactly the biggest deal. You could always try again. This time, however, they would not have ZSMJ's dagger. He does not have clarity, he's out of mana. He's going to have boots, I imagine now. Unless he's going to save for a quick ring of health. Nope. Going to go for standard boots.
Yeah, there's only so much damage you can do with the Qualifier. She burns herself, has 3 tangos left over. And the mana on Skywrath Mage is actually filling back up again. So they could jump on her again. Visage is a little low additionally, so them getting a kill is very unlikely. But again, the creep skipping is going on with Juggernaut as well as Darkseer. Iron Shell, he can spin this if he needs to, but he's actually out of mana, and they will continue to take last hits. And this is going to give them a really good shot at taking this tower pretty early, which would be a really nice advantage to the rest of the lanes, especially on the mid lane.
I mean, look at XTT right now. He's just on his tier 2, trying his best to get last hit. Not exactly the worst thing. In fact, he's sending the bear trying to pull the next wave. So he lost one wave entirely because of this creep skip. But for the most part, he's getting a lot more than you expect against a dual lane by himself. So he's doing quite alright.
And where's his bear at the moment? Okay, he is pulling creeps again. Yeah, still just a stout shield. Keeps resummoning. Level 3 for him. And we'll be able to buy boots pretty soon here. Man, this dual lane combo is so good at killing creeps. They have a stout shield. Yeah, they do have a stout shield on Juggernaut. The healing aura is really helping out. And the Darkseer's going to try to pull the creep wave actually into the neutrals. And it looks like he's going to be able to. He's going to miss this one last hit, but This is just a really nice thing that you can do. If the bear is ever pulling creep aggro, you can just walk there with your hero, run the creep wave into a neutral camp, and you let the creep wave. It's like a free pull. It's like, oh, thank you for pulling this for me.
Yep, and that's going to be another wave that's going to be missing. But on the bot lane, Queen of Pain's having a similar difficulty. Almost going to hit level 4. But, I mean, Queen of Pain really needs to actually catch up on levels a lot more than a Lone Druid can. Because Lone Druid could leave him in the jungle and farm for like 5-6 minutes. He come out with Armland with a decent level. Queen of Pain, you need her to be dominating supports 10 minutes in the game. And I don't think she's going to have a good start because of such.
So it's actually looking pretty good for Vici Gaming at the moment. Their aggressive trialing is paying off. The Spectre is getting last hits. Queen of Pain has gotten a couple, but really not that many. Mid lane is even with the Clockwork and the Storm Spirit, and the top lane is slightly being lost by the Lone Druid, but considering it's against a Darkseer as well as the Juggernaut, that's not that big of a deal. And if you look at the late game situation, Rattlesnake actually has okay carry potential between both the Juggernaut and a Storm, but I'm pretty worried about their lineup because I think it's a lot more volatile. Again, if the Skywrath Mage gets decent levels up into a silence, it can really counter some of these guys in ganks.
It looks like they're looking for a gank on the bot lane here. Luo gonna take a little bit of harass. Tier 1 tower has destroyed on the top lane. That's gonna mean a big deal for Neo, for example. Very close to that boots. Luo on the bot lane just having a ton of difficult time. She's gonna be able to afford boots as well. You need boots against this mass slow tri lane on the bot, and well, let's see if the chicken's going to be delivering soon. Nice mana burn here coming out from Neo. I think that's ultimately the correct choice. Sure, you don't have Impale to, save your Queen of Pain if she's gone upon, but if you take away the mana, especially from, for example, from ZSMJ or from Finrar, you just take away all their offensive capability.
Yeah, and Nyx is actually really good against Skywrath Mage for the fact that Skywrath's int gain is really high, and again, his HP is really low, so despite the fact that Silence counters Nyx quite well, it's going to be really rough for him. And all he has right now is Mana Drain. He's just now getting
top
some
lane.
EXP.
First blood already happened here, but looks like they're going to have a little bit more kill. Icy's trapped behind CTY. He's got the Healing Ward. Healing Ward's going to break now. It looks like the Stormster is now in the fight. Going to get one more kill. XDD in big trouble. And a level 6 Storm now turns 7 because he's got a ton of kills up top. 2-1 trade in the favor of the Radiant.
Wow, it's a pretty nice gank there. Clockwork and the Lone Druid were able to pick off the... Who was the first hero that died? The Darkseer, actually, but then Stormstar comes and gets a double kill, so really nice cleanup for him. That'll give him some nice advantage in the mid lane. I love how Skywrath Mage just shifted over. They knew that the Clockwork was off ganking, and when that happens, there's creeps dying in the mid lane that are not giving EXP to anybody. So a really level-dependent hero on like Skywrath. Skywrath needs to hit at least level 6 to be really good, or at least a useful support. If he can just shift mid in those small downtimes to grab EXP, it's a nice advantage for him.
Hasten's going to get picked up by FY, but I think that was under the guise of an Observer War, so the Radiant should be reacting accordingly and stay very, very behind the tower. Level 2 Omnix Assassin, no mana for anything yet. They're paying the Queen of Pain. Not sure they make that dive. Finrar's making that dive to silence as well as Nuke coming on. Luo trying to get the blink away. Soul Assumption is going to get destroyed. They are going to get the kill regardless. Finrar very low. Will be running away. Juggernaut is... if you surge him with a face boot, you get a free kill here. The Iron Shell Surge looking for the dive, and I don't think ZSMJ will survive. He's actually overstayed his welcome. Supports are already gone out of there. And he is going to buy as much as he can before dying, but very, very sloppy play from ZSMJ.
Yeah, he loses about 70 gold there after he purchases items. So not the biggest loss in the world. Didn't purchase a TP scroll, but he did get a kill on the Queen of Pain, was able to chase her all the way down using his dagger. So could be worse, but losing a hard carry at this point is not a good thing.
Yeah, we're talking about kind of the late game implications for both teams. One thing we are kind of... It really depends on what build that ZSMJ goes for. If you go for the standard wave for how the Chinese play Spectre, max a dagger, just farm, and then go for the Radiance, I imagine Rattlesnake's going to have a very difficult time in the late game. I just don't see any of these heroes really out-carrying Spectre in the ultra late game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Again, they have a Storm as well as a Juggernaut, but Juggernaut is not the hardest of carries. And unless Storm Spirit goes for something like a Bloodstone, he's usually going to apply more of a utility role, and he actually did pick up Treads first, which means almost certainly he's not going to grab a Bloodstone this game. He's going to go for something like an Orchid, very good against Skywrath, and can be used against Visage and Clockwork and all these other heroes as well. So if he can get a lot of ganks off in the mid game, it could position them really well, but Spectre is going to be a threat for the rest.
Yeah, if you want to go ultra late game for Rattlesnake, they have potential a couple of Scythe Folder, and that's always really good. But Spectre is a Spectre. We did see LG lose a game with Spectre, but I really don't think that was Spectre's fault in that game. But let's see what ZSMJ is doing. So far, he gave away an early death. Picked up a kill as a result as well, though. And looks like he's going to transition to farm up top. Facebook's really going to allow him to get all these last hits. I imagine it's going to be a Radiance build, but let's see if he's going to feel the need to get an early Vit booster or maybe even an early Diffusal play.
Yeah, the last Spectre game that we watched earlier tonight, it was just a Bracer into a Radiance, or a Relic, actually. And if he's going to dagger as well as Phase Boost forward, he knows that Omni Slash is on cooldown because it was used on him. And he just kind of wanted to force him back. This is going to cause Icy to have to drop his healing ward, and now his mana is a whole lot lower. He actually can't even Omni Slash with spin now because he did have to spin.
Mid lane looks like they're going to get silenced on land. The cogs are going to be right there. Oh, the mini stun's not really having a big effect after the silence is over. Unfortunately, Sky Reformation nowhere near level 6. I imagine he's going to be leveling up the... Ooh, actually very interesting skill build coming out. Generally, you just max the Ancient Seal, even though you're suffering in terms of damage output from your Arcane build. You allow your, for example, your Clockwork to use the Battery Assault to get that kill. But instead, it's going to be leveling up Arcane Bolt. Looks like they're going to also make another go attempt on the top lane. Slow into more slow, but Icy, it's going to spin away. FY a little bit too slow on the Ancient Seal, and you don't get that kill as a result.
Yeah, I think they should have let him initiate first instead of this Spectre, or the Spectre throwing the dagger first. It scared him a bit. He ended up spinning, and from there, if he's Magic Immune, you're not going to score the kill. With this few of Disables, that is. I mean, they have a Grave Chill and they have a dagger, and that's about it. So they really need to let him blind the sounds first, and not the best communication.
Yeah, good job by Vici. I mean, going back though, normally like, oh, 3v2 situation, we could stay in lane, we could push him back. Not against this combo here. Iron Shell, Surge, the supports are just not going to do anything because of the spins. And ZSMJ, even though he could right-click pretty hard, he's going to go back. Are we going to see an Urn build coming out from ZSMJ? I see a Gauntlet. Really? I see a Sage's Mask. I mean, the Chinese love to actually haunt early for KSs, but this might be the next level. Yeah, it is going to be an Urn build. This is so sick.
Well, okay, Urn does a couple things. First of all, extra HP is never going to be a bad thing. It does give you some mana regen, and Spectre is usually missing a little bit of mana, but if he does get some kills, getting the heals up on himself are pretty good, and also the offense potential is not to be stopped at either. Storm Spirit goes in, wow, that's an Omni Slash as well, Visage goes down, now Spectre running for his life. Will the 6 strength be enough? Even a wall being popped, what is going on? It's a level 8 Darkseer, and Clockwork hook shots in, but now he's taking a bunch of damage himself. He's looking to feed himself on to death, but the cogs are going to be able to drain a lot more mana. There's the Surge, he pops a regen, and it actually does get out of there, but man, Spectre does go down.
The Spectre actually used Haunt in that team fight, so that's 100 second that you're not going to be KSing. And when you go the Urn build, you expect to get a lot more. Actually, FY is going to run into Lamb. Lucky for him, that Lamb does not have to early mana. So, kind of an interesting start, the way that suddenly, you know, we're talking about the late game situation. Vici Gaming should have this on lockdown because they have Spectre. Not if she's going Urn and going for all these kind of cheesy plays. So, yeah. I'm not even sure how this game is going to go. I could envision, for example, Queen of Pain and Storm Spirit snowballing out of control, especially with the start they have right now. 3-0 and 1 on Storm, and he's gonna be working towards Orchid. This is, I don't feel too good for Vici right now.
Maybe he grabs the Urn because he doesn't want to spend money on an HP regen item like a Tranquil Boots.
I mean, Tranquil Boots is just cheaper, right, in his own right.
They are, but I mean, you lose the phase option. I mean, it does a lot of right-click damage, and the positioning is very useful as well. So maybe he doesn't want the HP regen and says, "I'm just going to get Urn charges and get kills, and therefore I'll have regen or something." I'm not really sure, but it does give him decent nuke potential once he grabs charges, and also helps him stay alive after team fights and ganks. So I guess he's expecting to be active.
I mean, well, he's going to grab himself a Bracer as well. He's definitely going for the full-out early game build. Yeah. Drums, Urn, phase, and see what he could accomplish. He's actually 30 seconds away from using that Haunt. I imagine Vici Gaming will be looking to get some early kills. I mean, it makes sense. When you have heroes like Clockwork, when you have heroes like Visage, you get a ton of early game kills. And it seems like even though the Lone Druid started on off lane, or well, top, and now on the off lane, he might be the true kind of ultra late game carry for the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to be here. It's going to be a while until he gets a major item, though.
Yep. No real parts into the armlet just yet. Did a decent pull, not be farming very safely to the tier 2. I mean, one thing is to say that, hey, we could get some kill with Han. The other thing to recognize that there's Surge, there's Blink, and there's Storm Zip. How are you ever going to find kills unless you dedicate big time here? On the top lane, they are going to make a kill. Icy silence up. They're going to nuke him down. I don't think it makes it out of there, not to ZSMJ's face. Well, there's Urn Charge number 1 and 2. And if you even need to use Haunt for that one, so could be starting to pick up the aggression very easily.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice pickup. And since he's max dagger now, he does 200 damage with Spectral Dagger, which will be reduced by a bit. But Urn is going to do about 150, so that's pretty good for the early game, honestly.
Yeah, not bad.
Well, looking at the support heroes, they have about 700 HP, 800
Impale's
HP.
going to drop on bot lane, XCD. Unfortunately, the screen missed. The wall's going to get dropped as well, and the TP will come in. Clockwork Hook, where's the Han? It's going to follow through right now. CTY is going to pop his invis. Kabu's going to get, oh my god, netted. That's one kill. Are they chasing for anything else? Lamb TP in as well. ZSMG out of mana at this point. You could go make a go on FY. He's kind of the squishiest target, but I'm not sure whether you want to make that jump in the middle of 4 heroes.
And he is going drum immediately afterwards. Hasn't used any of his earned charges offensively, but if they get into a fight again, he will be able to use them. Storm Spirit has no new items since we last checked. Just a Null Talisman as well as Treads, and they're going to try to defend this. They have an Omni/Dual Juggernaut actually has some really good EXP this game.
Ooh, FY picks up himself an Arcane Boots. I'm going to put everybody back into nice position. ZSMJ, does he have a Teleport Scroll? No spot for Teleport Scroll, so he's going to have to all the way chuck it all the way back up top.
Rock it on.
And Han, I mean, the cool thing about having this kind of interesting farmer slash mid-game teamfight Spectre is that he could always farm his way to late game. Generally, the power in terms of CK Wisp, for example, is that the Wisp could always allow your CK to farm all day and still join every team fight. And that's kind of what Spectre could do. You rise to jungle all day, come in with a team fight, and drop your own charges. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Radiant's top tower
Offensive
is under
earned
attack.
Spectre. The downside is that it's going to make you pretty strong right now, but your mid game is going to be a lot less impactful, and you won't get an amazing rolling ball of farm like we did see on the Spectre before. Once she grabbed Radiance, she can increase her farm rate by quite a bit. So
Kabu's on the run here on the bot lane. You can see Sita White's looking for the hook. It's going to hit right now. And where's the Spectre? Nowhere near. Actually, Hansak on... Oh, nice vacuum out here. And Kabu trying to break the cogs. But look at the double damage as well as... one more rocket should do the job. The Urn gets cancelled here from the Darkster. And CTY with the double damage, hitting that hook, finding himself some solo kills.
that was pretty lucky as well, because the battery assault wasn't even hitting the creep that was standing there. He walked right by a creep, and every single time the battery assault hit the enemy hero.
Skill, not luck.
Just super well
You can
planned.
micro those battery assaults. I'm not sure if you know.
Yeah, I always miss hockey. I don't know.
There you go.
I'm a noob.
ZSMJ is going to be close to that drums being finished. One of the big thing I want to talk about is that Rattlesnake got some really good early game kills, like Stormster rotate up top. But since then, I mean, I think the score was like 5-2, and now it's actually even up to 5-5. They're not really good at pushing, so you're not going to get any more. Like, they're going to try to pressure tier 1, and all they really need to do, Vici Gaming, is to glyph this, send a couple of heroes mid, and just drop a couple birds. They are going to lose one bird. Arcane Bolt's going to come through. Rattlesnake, I don't think they could get too much advantage unless they get a couple of kills and then push off of it. But it's very easy for Vici Gaming to turtle up and ultimately farm late game and outplay Rattlesnake.
But at least they have Spectre. I mean, again, he's going to early game items. He has his drum finish now, so his movement speed's fantastic now. 423 when he uses his phase boots. His stats all around are pretty solid as well. Maxing out Desolate second with just 1 level of in dispersion. Makes him a little tanky at this point, but good enough in the meantime for damage output.
Well, looks like Clock's going to find himself another rune on the bot lane.
Gets a
I
lot of
meant
these.
Vici Gaming should have the late game lockdown because it's
Okay,
hard for Rattlesnake. I know there's 2 RS, or actually there's only 1 RS. I'm confusing myself. Clockwork Hook is going to come through on the mid lane here. They actually push Luo back. Silence come through, and I'm not too sure whether Luo will survive. He will not. Healing Ward should actually get micro and focus. They don't get him, but it's so easy for example, Vici Gaming to get tower kills because of the bear. They get 1 kill, they're going to knock the bear, or knock the tower a couple times with the bear, and that's a couple of 100 chunks of damage. Also, it's very easy comparatively for Vici Gaming to find those kills because of that support Skyrift mage. We haven't seen him for a while, but really his effectiveness in this game makes you wonder why we don't see him more.
Yeah, just the little mini stun from the hook shot followed up with the silence was enough to actually kill the Quap. It's like a free Orchid. You just have to hit a certain level threshold, and all of a sudden you have that single target disable up to 6 seconds, and the magic resist bonus is really nice as well. That doesn't really do a whole lot for the lone druid, but the Skywrath Mage and the Visage Soul Assumption stacks really, really well with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the item choices of the Radiant being forced in, Stormster has an Ogre Club into his in stash. We're seeing some really old school Storm, not because he really wants to, because he has to deal with the silence coming out. Queen of Pain has a Bracer. She started on the safe lane. You expect her to have a little bit more impact or farm. She's not going to have it. And of course, we do see Earn First from Kabu, which is not exactly standard from a Darkseer before that mech. But again, really forced to get these kind of tanky-oriented items to survive the nukage power. We're seeing the Clockwork. We're talking about the Skyrift Mage. Let's not forget about Visage. He's the real nuker on the team. And so far, even though he's only got boosts and 3 GG branches, he's having big impact regardless.
Yeah, he is going to be a threat constantly to this game. Big magic nukes flying around are always going to be really strong. So, especially with the silence as well. They have a lot of evasive heroes like Quap if they get out of position, or Juggernaut, and you can land the silence. It's all about burst damage. You just have to finish them off so they cannot heal up afterwards.
Well, we do see a 3-man smoke, or a 2-man plus 2 burst smoke on the bot lane here. Just looking for anything because they know they could take a fight anytime Haunt is already online. ZSMJ TP's on the bot lane and continues to rise away. Only 67 CS. Gotta keep in mind that started on the off lane though, so CS not exactly the most important thing. I imagine he's gonna be going for a Relic now, but if he wants to go for more mid game like a Diffusal Blade or a Yasha, won't be bad either. The smoke's running out soon here from Vici Gaming, and I just don't think they'll find anybody. Yeah.
That was a very safe place for Vici Gaming there. I would have been really surprised if Rattlesnake actually did push on the Spectre. I mean, it's obvious that he is purchasing items, so it's not like he's saving up for a Relic or something like that, which usually just screams, gank me, kill me before I finish this, before I finish the Radiance, but they haven't gone for it. They're just kind of passively farming and spreading out and everything. It looks like everybody wants to finish their items. Storm Spirit's like 600, 700 away from his Mithril Hammer. And from his Mithril Hammer and BKB, and then he's gonna have Magic Community, and then he doesn't have to worry about the sounds anymore. Yeah,
unfortunately, farming is not the game you want to take against Vici Gaming, not especially when they have the Bear, who's already, I want to say, halfway toward his armlet, and then of course Spectre. Even though he doesn't have any late game implication right now, eventually he will, right? He could just get a triple kill on team fight, and suddenly that's a tier 2 item. And you know, ZSMJ still working on it on the bot lane now. 1K go on the bank. I feel like the passive play really favors Vici Gaming. They could easily keep their towers up. They have better late game heroes. And Rising Star, Rattlesnake is trying to hit at this kind of mid game timing window where your Storm Spirit, your Puck, or your Quap, excuse me, really becomes, you know, you snowball. But again, I guess they're farming towards that stage. They really need BKB on Storm. They really need Quap to have anything, which she doesn't have right now. And so far, they're still farming away.
Yeah, her item choice is very peculiar, grabbing the bracer as well. It's probably just because she's worried about the sounds. She's died twice already. Technically, you just need to survive long enough for the sounds to run out, and then you can blink away. So having enough for that is really what they want. Another smoke just on 2. Skyreth as well as Visage. They covered the Spectre last time, and this time I guess they don't care very much. They're going to run right into the next assassin now, and is he going to realize here comes the silence? Do they see him yet? There he's finally, actually silence goes on the Quap, ulti drops as well. More Recollects, and the Soul Assumption absolutely wrecks the Queen of Pain. Really easy kill on her.
Unfortunately, ZSMJ even haunt for that, so that's a big ultimate on cooldown. Actually, Neo Vendetta up, looking for a kill. I don't think he'll find on Fenra unless Storm makes a pretty big zip across the map. Well, drops a ward, sentry. Are they going to see FY? But silence comes out, and Neo, wrong place, wrong time. Lamb's going to go for a pull here against Fenra. I think Fenra should be fine. Fenra looking to drop a couple of nukes, but the wall goes down. The vacuum backwards here. ZSMJ in the middle of everything, not going to find any kill. Icy, by the way, on the background spinning. Is ZSMJ really going for a storm kill? He's got the urn on him right now, and the HP not low enough. 48 HP. The dagger is going to come. That was a ground target one, so he's not going to kind of kill either. ZSMJ TP's back out. Pretty decent trade here for the Rattlesnake. Your Storm Spirit getting killed at this stage of the game is all you could pray for. And of course, Quap in the middle of that, I think she was able to rise away in some random lane. So, well, good start here for Rising Star, Rattlesnake.
Yep. They did lose. They did lose the Skyreth Mage as well as the Visage, but they did get the Quap kill right before that, I believe.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. I thought she was fine. Yeah, she got picked off in the beginning.
Yep. She died. 3 deaths now for her. Not the best game.
Bot lane though, they will actually start with the Vendetta and Impale. Now Storm zips in after that TP, and that should be yet another easy kill against the SMJ. I say that. No. BKB's up here, didn't even need to use that BKB. So yeah, Rattlesnake making some big play. Again, you gotta keep in mind that they cannot just jam down the middle for a push. They need to kill heroes and transition into a push. And what a kill, what a better person to kill, ZSMJ on his Spectre.
Yeah, he was a little too far forward, and against the Storm Spirit you have to be really careful because his reach is so much farther than a typical hero. And it really does change a lot about how you have to play hero matchups and how your decision making goes in the late game. If you're on the map and you're visible, he's going to be considering jumping on you. And if his mana pool is healthy and he has a disable as well, he's just going to shut you down. So if he can coordinate these little ganks with a hero like Nyx Assassin, it's the easiest stuff ever for him.
Yeah, unfortunately ZSMJ kind of being on the short end of these ganks. The urn evidently, and the drum not really helping out in terms of survivability so far. But XCT, we haven't really talked about him too much, but he's slowly accruing gold, slowly accruing item. Armlet's done, 1k gold is up on him. I think he should get it, for example, like a casual cloaker on his hero or something. And then after that, he should be basically unkillable, and he could get whatever he wants in terms of damage item choice. I think Basher is not a bad way to add another disable on the team. Or maybe even just get a Hyperstone and just go AC.
Yeah, AC would be pretty good. It would help them cut through the Juggernaut as he spins. Darkseer's really tanky. Queen of Pain is relatively squishy in terms of armor levels. It's not a bad choice, honestly. They don't have to worry as much about the Druids carrying, so... Oh, no, he's just taking runes. I was like, are they just gonna fight at the Ancients casually?
Actually, he just walk up the hill by himself with the bear.
He's got 2 levels of Omni Slash though, so you do not want to fight him right now.
Yeah, Juggernaut, we haven't really talked about him too much either. He's got Face, he got Yasha. I think he's gonna go for a full Manta, pretty decent against the Root, as well as a big Silence coming out from Skywrath Mage. So actually, that's probably the perfect item choice you could go for. These 2-man kind of gank squad, we're seeing, and FY is dead. Like, you get seen right now, you get Omni Slash. Maybe one of these guys gonna take a couple hits. Finroy's gonna, oh, I see, thought about TPing out, sees the fact that he could go for a solo kill. Clockwork Hook's gonna come in right now, and look at Spectre, walks into it, gets vacuumed back out, and maybe deciding to walk back into it, but the healing wall gets dropped by Icy. They just 2-man roam into the enemy jungle, got 2, will make it out against Han and Clockwork Hook. What a player.
Yeah, Icy's actually really farmed for this point. 4 kills, 1 death, and 5 assists. He used his Omni Slash at the right time. He spinned and fought for a bit and got 2 kills out of it, which is a really, really big advantage for a Juggernaut who doesn't scale late well by just farming. He has to get some kills to try to keep with a hero like Spectre.
I mean, he had a free ride home because he was spin TPing, and then he's like, you know what? I could actually go for this skill. Got one for Visage and surprisingly survived thanks to the mech as well as the wall being dropped down by the Darkster. And it's surprisingly effective, these 2-man gank party. In fact, you know, Neo's been doing his solo ganks himself. Storm's been doing a ton of ganking. Yeah, sure, Vici Gaming's got the quote-unquote late game, but they're really getting picked off. The score's now stretched out. If you look at the goal chart, we're close to 75, 10,000 goal lead. And that's considering the Radiant hasn't really been farming exceptionally well. They've not been really knocking down towers or anything. It's just straight up ganks, and the fact that Vici Gaming is afraid to really farm too far out of the towers. Every time they've done that, ZSMJ, for example, got picked off on the bot lane.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They are getting behind in farm. The GPM looks really good for 3 of the Radiant heroes. Even the Queen of Pain is top 4 or top 5 total, so only 1 person is farming well. It is Spectre though, so there is definitely still hope. If he can grab his Diffusal Blade, he can solo kill pretty easy. Clockwork comes in, it's going to stun the Clockwork. We have a dagger fly through as well, and he's actually going to go invisible to try to get out of here. But they actually do have detection, it turns out. Drop a sentry on the low ground, and at that point, easy kill.
Yep. Here's the thing. I mean, Dire's getting these kills, and every time they get a kill, they alleviate some pressure off ZSMJ, but they're not really, for example, taking a tier 1. And so far, if you look at the map right now, all the towers still stands from the Radiant side. Rocket comes through on the bot lane here. Lamb's still pressuring towers as well. He's got that BKB. I think he's going for Scythe. So earlier, I kind of mentioned, and I don't really think about the fact that it could go late, but if it does go late, Rattlesnake have some sick late game implications. Back in the mid lane, the fight's gonna break out here. Manhunter's gonna bring them out. Stormster has a regen rune. He's gonna cop him right now. BKB should be activated. He gets pushed away and loses a ton of mana as a result, but Finrod is gonna go down early. Luo, by the way, in a little bit of trouble as well. Huge Mystic Flow. He's gonna get 1 kill as a result as well. ZSMJ got the urn as he's still chasing. He's, oh, the big vacuum. Where's the vacuum? No vacuum just yet. Kabu's low. He's gonna be surviving because of that healing ward. Man, Juggernaut's just doing so much offensively, defensively. Vici Gaming will disengage. A 2-for-2 trade, I think. But I think that's still ultimately favor. No, actually,
2 for 1.
Queen of Pain, yeah, Queen of Pain and Stormster die without really getting too much as a return.
Yeah, Stormster didn't really have a good initiation there, in the sense that he jumped in and he popped BKB.
That cog.
And then he got rooted. Oh, he hit a cog?
He hit a cog. He lost 200 mana as a result. That really broke him, yeah.
And I think he didn't even go in full HP, by the way, because he was sitting bot lane, he popped his regen, and he TP'd to the mid lane. So I'm guessing he initiated without full HP, full mana, and ended up breaking damage immediately and just had a really tough time at that point. So he got rooted, man. It stops Magic Community. They don't really care about Magic Community.
Yeah, I guess he could have zipped around, but unfortunately, the mano's low, the HP was low, and the kind of collateral random AoE damage brought him down. ZSMJ slowly has got himself a Diffusal Blade. Again, for example, I really like to see him have a Vid booster at this point. He's at 1300 HP with Dispersion, and that does give you some effective HP, but I just don't, I won't put money on ZSMJ surviving any team fight right now, because there's so much nuke damage on Rattlesnake. They could even, for example, get a Spectre themselves, and things should get hairy when the enemy Spectre is, you know, proccing Desolates on you.
Yeah, that skill's always going to be good. And he almost has max level dispersion as well, so any damage he takes is going to be reduced and reflected to opponents. Stormster purchases a gem, or somebody on the Radiant team buys a gem. Looks like I have no idea who it is, so I will not even try guessing.
Right now it's on Storm, but I'm not sure whether Storm has actually bought it himself. So we're going to see a little bit of tier 1 push from Vendetta, maybe trying to scout things out, but Sentry is already prepared. Clockwork, by the way, have himself a Axe Scepter, so he could kind of get a couple kills. And right now, they're going to focus on Neo. Neo's going to get brought down, but here comes BKB Storm focusing on ZSMJ. And this is what I mean about him needing HP. He's going to go into the fog. Unfortunately, Storm does not give a two hoot about that. Lou is now going to be on chase as well. Going to go into CTY, pops up BKB, debuffs Silence. Huge Sonic Wave. Come out, but CTY, no, she's gonna be fine because of these Root Gaming. Nice Clockwork Hook coming out, trying to get the Chaos. Skyrim Mage gonna get the kill as a result. Trading is the SMJ as well as Finrar for a kill on Nyx Assassin and Quap. I think that favors Rattlesnake. In fact, I believe it does because the SMJ a little bit more important at this point. He's gonna get himself a beat booster, and still he doesn't survive these team fights.
Yeah, he's still having a rough time. It's just the damage potential for Rattlesnake at this point is still too high. Iron Shells on all your melee heroes, and then you have to worry about Quap burst damage, and even Storm Spirit, he is trying to blow people up, but his survivability isn't quite where I wish it would be to allow him to stay alive for most of the fight, but they still do have really good damage on Rattlesnake. They just have to keep the Spectre shut down and try to end the game before like 40 minutes, I think.
What about XCT though? He's not dying any of these team fights. Has picked up a Maelstrom instead of a Basher or AC, and I mean.
I don't know, I think this build is pretty decent. It does give him some AoE that he didn't have before with just Armlet, so he can now push faster. A little attack speed on top of that as well. I mean, it's just really cost efficient on this hero.
Yeah, the added benefit of actually getting a ton of farm, because generally he's not even being focused on these team fight. In fact, he's been rising away in the jungle. Maelstrom's probably one of the fastest farming builds. This is a build that you go for example, if you just want to go really kind of late game. Either that or Midas. Now, obviously, Midas is not exactly so good at this stage of the game, but Maelstrom still is. So he's at level 18 now, level 17. He's starting to become a big factor. We saw the BKB being able to shut down, for example, Clockwork or the Skyrim Mage. Again, we saw Roots. You know, it doesn't give a damn. The attack speed's there, damage output is there. What do they do against XTT? I'm not sure.
I'm really not sure. They're just gonna have to go team fight it, try to take some towers, maybe some tactical advantage. I mean, they keep winning fights. The Juggernaut is snowballing a bit. He's 4-1 and 7. The Storm Spirit is having trouble. He's actually 6-1 and 3. I'm really surprised about that. I didn't think it was gonna be quite that heavily favored for him. He might actually jump in mid. The Lone Druid is sitting here. He could ball lightning this, but I'm sure he's terrified that the enemy team is sitting right behind him, which might be the case here.
Yeah, Clockwork could easily get there very quickly. Then focus on the bear. Maybe kill him now after he resummons. Well, he hasn't resummoned. Now he will. I mean, there's a entire gaggle of bats behind him and a couple of... Is it called gaggle of bats?
I think that's a real word.
I'm sure that's a real word.
Are they gonna kill the bear? Run, little bear. Got the
somebody dictionary.com that for me.
My eternal
and
gratitude.
get back to me on that.
Earns paying off. Hopefully it wasn't the carry this time. It was not. It was actually the offlane darks here.
Oh, looks like we're going to see a two-man impale here. XCT is going to get pulled. Yes, he will. The Han comes in right now, and XCT is going to get blown up. Where's the Mystic Flare coming out? It looks like a double BKB is going to get popped as well as the SMJ runs and Logan Wall gets dropped. Kind of a lot of spells being dropped and XCT being dead.
Yeah, only one hero. That was the Lone Druid. They again pulled him forward a bit since he was slightly out of position. The Quap dropped their ulti. That's everything. But this is pretty much his weak point right now. He has so much armor given to him from his true form as well as synergy. So even with the cloak on top of himself, Magic Nuke is by far the best way to kill him. At least for the Radiant team's draft.
Here, Chute's going to get Glyph. Not much ultimate here left on the Dire side, aside from Clockwork Hook, but he's not going to be able to defend this. I mean, I kind of asked about what is Rattlesnake's late game against the Bear, but sometimes we saw the burst damage is just enough, even against the casual cloak. IC starting to become an issue as well. He's got 4k HP, or 4k go in the bank, sorry. 4k HP will be a little bit ridiculous. And if he picks up, for example, a Butterfly, he is a legitimate late game carry. I did not expect him to kind of go one row, so considering the fact that he started on the, top lane with the Darkseer, but he's got the farm, he's got the tower kills, he's got the hero kills, well, 4, 1, and 8.
Yeah, I really like this item build as well. I've done this before in pub games. The progression is fairly nice. Your damage output isn't huge, but you keep in mind your illusions can crit naturally because you have a natural crit ability. So that's a 35% chance to do double damage. So they're okay. They get out of silences. That's the important part. You can dodge silence with it. You can get out of roots, and you can dodge all the disables as well. So he is going that build. You called it, man. He's got an Eagle Song picked up now. If he grabs a Butterfly, his attack speed's going to be increased massively as well, and that means his ulti's going to be even better.
Yeah, I'm actually just waiting for Rattlesnake to start to take a fight in the Roshan pit. You have Darkseer, which is probably one of the best Roshan heroes. Stormseer being another. There's just so much mobility on the Radiant side. Now, granted, there is Rocket to scout you out. There is Clockwork Hook, and you don't want to get 4-man cogs inside the Roach pit. But If you get an Aegis on Juggernaut and the completed butterfly, you just kind of start knocking on high ground. And ZSMJ, we're still, I've kind of been looking at him all game long. I do apologize for calling a Radiance build early on. It's completely dumb because there is a Darkseer. You cannot just give away a free Radiance when you have when you're facing up. So he's going to be somewhat limited in terms of late game item choices for ZSMJ as well.
Yeah, if you guys don't understand why it's a bad idea to give an illusion creator that Radiance, because if you make an illusion, it's similar to PL or Spectre in the first place. If you make an illusion of somebody that has the Radiance item, the illusion will also do a Radiance burn. It doesn't stack, of course, so 5 Spectre illusions doesn't mean you're all of a sudden doing like 300 magic damage per second, but anybody within the AoE of any of them will take damage. So if you change that source to the enemy team, like if he vacuums into a wall, all of a sudden, all of Vici Gaming is taking Radiance Burn, and that's really expensive, costly mistake. So instead, he goes for Diffusal Blade. He's going to probably finish his Diffusal 2, maybe get a heart afterwards. He actually does have his Diffusal 2 now, so he's pretty much ready to fight, and it kind of looks like Vici Gaming wants to group up and smoke.
Now, unfortunately, the will seal your illusion. And that illusion will still have mana burn, but what can you do if you're ZSMJ? Stormster being forced away to zip twice here, and he does have a regen rune, and more importantly, a Scythe device up. One of the earlier Scythe. Again, I'm surprised that he's actually doing this well. I think he was getting blown up. I thought he was getting blown up.
It seems like he hasn't done a whole lot, honestly. But like every team fight, it seems like he has trouble with it. But 7-1-3.
That's a Power Storm. You don't die.
200 CS. Yeah, you just ball lane in, man. Vici Gaming doesn't have that many disables other than the silence, so it is possible for him to escape little ganks like that.
Well, all of us kind of favor Vici Gaming, just the fact that they have more known players or more stylish plays. And right now, Gods is the only one calling Chuo Rising Star. Or Rattlesnake. And they're doing it. Right now, Lamb is level 18. He's got BKB Scythe. There's a Butterfly now completed on Juggernaut. Queen of Pain's going to be working towards her own Scythe. Got the BKB completed. The full-on suite of late game. And look at Kabu right now. Mech and Pipe. Like, I just feel like they're just one item ahead on every single hero. And if they want to take a big team fight now, as long as they don't get 4-man cog, they should be okay.
And they are spreading out once again. Guess they don't want to have to try to push high ground. All the outer towers are all missing, so they've already collected all the gold on the map. That's simple for them. So if but they have a mech pipe. I mean, they could go high ground if they really wanted to. Here.
Or Roche. Now you see Rocket Flare going to Roshan Pit. Check it out, and that will. That means Icy's already there. Healing Ward. They know Roche is happening. The big thing also here for Vici Gaming, which they haven't been doing the last couple of team fights, is they gotta kill that Healing Ward.
Yeah, it's a huge percentage of HP in every team fight. You're basically gaining 50 to 90 HP. Here's the hook shot in. He pops BKB as well. Great ARB. Sorry, that's mostly actually cogs go down. And another Vortex. He's taking some good right click. Scream Pain as well. There's going to be some more right clicks on the Bear. The Bear wants to entangle anybody, but he hasn't gotten anyone yet. Stormtrooper again balls out. Still has not much mana left, but we'll be aiming for it. Juggernaut pops a huge ulti. Actually, Vici is going to go down. Manta splits out of the entangle to try to stay alive as long as possible. But all that's left over is the Bear and maybe some cleanup here. Spectre cleans up on the Naru, but great juking through the Roshan Pit as Storm wastes a lot of mana.
Well, ZSMG is still alive right now. Roshan is down to about half HP. Healing Ward, by the way, down about a couple seconds, but I think they're going to take another fight. Rocket's going to come in. There's going to be Clockwork Cook again. Ooh. There is Axe Scepter, so the cooldown is already back up. They're going to focus on ZSMJ down to about quarter health. Where's the focus, though? The Bear actually go back in the Bear form. I'm not sure why he was in human form in the first place. He's going to get focused. The Purge comes through. ZSMJ wants to man fight, but these crits, 2 crits in a row. RNGG up 3 crits. I see.
I think that was a regular hit, actually.
Well, it felt like a crit because it hit those so damn hard.
There was a big number that popped up.
Yep,
and
there you go.
Fancy,
that's a crit. It's red.
I don't think it was. It's just very low armor on those guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But
well, ZSMJ being forced to buy back out, so any late game implication from him is gone. Can they actually go into the Roshan Pit right now? Because the Radiant's pretty low themselves. Land back to somehow full HP, full mana. They still scouted out with the Rocket. The Bear gets resummoned. XCD, there's no more Bear resummon. If they kill this one, I think they recognize as well a ton of nukes. But where's the Impel? Neo a little bit slow on that. And the Bear gets to live, but I just don't think they could challenge a Roshan. And I don't think you could give away Aegis on... Oh, the Bears are coming in. Or sorry, the birds are coming. I don't think you could give a Aegis on the Juggernaut. Oh no, they think give it to Storm. Very interesting. They also popped the BKB on Storm. Maybe as a mistake. Not sure.
I guess they saw the game where Korok decided to steal an Aegis, and they're still a little scared from things.
Well, Korok was stealing Aegis as a Storm, and
That is.
I guess there's a clockwork right to it, maybe.
Yeah, he could like hook shot in and pop his. Does he have BKB?
The big YOLO place.
The yellow plays, yep.
Well, now Luo's going to be going back top to defend this tier 1 tower. Nice move. Generally, a lot of players are like, alright, we're ahead, let's just push down mid. And as a result, like the enemy gets a free tower, but Rattlesnake showing that poise. And trying to finish that Scythe. I think she brought back in the last fight. It seems like she did in terms of goal output here. So, going to be about 800 go away from that. No, going to be going for Shivas.
Wow,
very
really? That's very rare, actually. In almost all cases where you're able to afford a Mystic Staff, you buy a Sheep Stick, just because its ability to shut down enemy carries is very, very important. And the kinds of things that this stops, it does stop dispersion. I know it will stop evasion, but I can't remember if it shuts down dispersion.
I'm not sure myself, so... I mean, I guess if you look about it, it makes decent sense, because the bear is, you know, doing a ton of physical damage output. Spectre, if he's not critting Desolate on you, is still kind of insane damage because she has Fusel Blade level 2. And having minus attack speed is not a bad addition. They have already a decent amount of single target lockdowns. Storm Straight with his own Scythe, with a pull. I guess, yeah, sure. Also adds a ton of AoE damage to your team. I personally would have preferred a Scythe, but it increases her survivability. It makes her more of an AoE threat. I don't think it's a bad item at all.
I think it's a great item. The attack speed reduction is huge. They're going in again. The only person they gank is the bear. So the bear's going to go down. We even see a concussive shot to try to slow them down a bit. Here comes the bear resummon. He's got 120 seconds, and then he is all out. It's going to be an AC. Yep, AC finish with an armlet as well as a maelstrom. So this bear actually hits quite hard, and they should have a good chance of defending here.
Yeah, I mean, making that jump on the bear is absolutely free, because you can't really, what are you going to do, rescue the bear by initiating? Like, you're not going to do that. Here comes a call coming in as well. The pipe gets popped right now. We talked about the early power of a mech pipe really allowing to go out the high ground. And yeah, they're working on this tower. Killing More not being dropped yet. Isaac being somewhat focused. Clockwork's going to come in. Where's the cog? Spectre haunting as well, but everybody popping those BKB, and that means all your supports are doing no damage. CTY in the middle, going to get blown up here. Omni-Slash doing so much work, and the rest of Vici Gaming will just die to that Storm Stride. Scythe not even being used just yet, but it doesn't matter. I think Rattlesnake will take game number 1 after they take this melee racks.
This Juggernaut is just completely continuing with farming. It's not changing. He actually picked up a BKB as well. Good game is called, and Vici Gaming loses their first game versus Rattlesnake here. So a little bit of an upset, but really well played by Rattlesnake all over the place. The Juggernaut just never died. He continued to get new items. He got a Butterfly picked up. The Butterfly gives you tons of attack speed. His ulti was great. His basic right clicks were really strong as well. And they just, Vici couldn't stand up to it with their early game Spectre build.
Yeah, I mean, the Spectre not being able to go for a late game build because of a Darkseer. And kind of this random, I say random because there's really, I've never seen a draft coming out from Rattlesnake like this where you just go Storm, Quab, Juggernaut. None of these are true carries, but
yeah,
if they all have items, they're all fine semi-carries, and that's kind of what we saw. Clockwork hooks were decent early, but ZSMJ kind of died too many times, I feel like.
Yeah, he did get picked off bot lane. He's died 5 times according to the draft. He bought back as well, I believe, at least
I think once. Yeah.
So that really delays his core items as well, and he never really got that much up. And unfortunately for him, the Storm Spirit continued to snowball. He was like 7-1-6 at one point, which didn't seem accurate. I was like, did he really not die this much? But
yeah,
he kept getting his farm up. Same goes for the other core heroes. So that's my impressions of the game. What do you guys think over at the desk?
I'm sure Howie would disagree with something.
We'll find out what exactly that is. But to me, the cool thing is just Rattlesnake's drafts. They love to sort of have these massive semi-carries. It's one of the reasons they're one of my favorite teams in this qualifier. They have 3 semi-carries, and their other 2 heroes aren't even true supports, really. Nyx Assassin, you can argue, is, but Darkseer, a utility hero, they managed to somehow fit this all together and come up with a winning draft.
Yeah, I actually thought both the drafts were sort of cool. On VG side, you sort of had like a a Clockwork to isolate someone, so Spectre Haunt does full damage on them. They'll be isolated for Desolate, and then Spectre got the Diffuser, I think, so that you don't have to blow Skywrath ulti on someone in the cogs. You can Diffuser someone and blow it on them instead. So that's 2 people dead, or I think that was their plan, but it felt like their picks, they weren't really able to do enough for the supports.
The 2 supports seemed really out of place and awkward. They didn't really fit in. They weren't good gankers. They didn't scale well to the mid to late game.
I mean, Skywrath is very good against their heroes, in theory, but like Storm got a BKB and could just go on him every fight. Like, if you aggressive trialing, they weren't really able to find a kill, so the
Yeah.
supports were just really underleveled.
They didn't have any real setups, and I guess you can look at the Grave Chill, but it doesn't seem to be a convention. It seemed to me more like they needed the Visage Spectre with something more standard, like a Jakiro, any sort of stunner.
That's sort of what it felt like to me. Because also it was very hard for them to kill potential on bot. They did kill the Quap, I think, once.
Quap
in
was
the lane, or
actually
twice. I mean,
Quap got really
shut
shut down. Yeah, Quap at one point, like 25 minutes in the game, Quap was 0-5 with 1 assist.
Yeah, but I mean, like in that tri lane, you can't just shut down an enemy hero.
Yeah.
You need to, like, it's not like you're shutting down a Spectre or something like that.
Quap wasn't the hard carry.
Yeah, you need to be able to actually get kills, I think, or rotate once you have the advantage. I really liked the Storm Lanham's movement. He did something really nice in mid lane where he got an early magic wand, so that
Yeah.
C2I would never have that kill potential on him if he got mana burn. And C2I, he actually played mid lane really well. He was winning
He was
similar
winning the
CS,
CS a little bit, by
but
a
he had
little
like
bit.
10 denies on him.
Yeah.
And range heroes only get 18 EXP from a deny, so the denies are actually really important because melee heroes get 36. So he was actually doing quite well in that. But Storm just got that double cut top, and I think he did a lot of work that game.
Yeah. The other big thing, I mean, you look at, they shut down the Queen of Pain, but the way the Rattlesnake draft worked is they actually have three core heroes and a Darkseer, so shutting down one isn't enough. And the way the Vici gaming lamp worked is they could only really shut down one hero. They had the tri lane, then their other 2 lanes weren't really winning lanes.
Yeah, but I think that's the first time I've seen a Spectre aggressive. Well, like I've never seen a Spectre aggressive try really work out.
Okay.
But I think ZSMJ, I would have liked him to play a bit closer to towers, and then Visage, whenever he had bird summons up, like he could resummon them, he would send his old birds to ZSMJ. So if he ever got ganked, Clockwork could TP in, you'll get 2 stuns off with the Visage birds for sure, because Nyx's Impale, their only AoE stun doesn't hit birds. It's Impale base, so that would give time for Clockwork to hook in. And as CTY showed in like the 26-minute fight and the 28-minute fight, his cogs were actually phenomenal. The first one, he pushed the Storm before BKB. Like the Storm jumped in and he got the cogs on him, which is really hard to do actually. And it burned his mana. The 28-minute fight, he actually zoned out the Darkseer completely.
Okay.
He hit Darkseer I think twice with the cogs. I didn't quite see, but I just know that Darkseer had no mana after and he cast 0 spells in that fight.
Yeah, the first fight when they actually killed the Storm looked like a almost turning point for Vici Gaming. From there, it looked like they could maybe claw their way back in, but I think ZSMJ just got caught out a few too many times.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, the Lone Druid, he played pretty well because at top, what he did was he got a few levels and he just went to jungle, which I think is really smart because Darkseer and Jug have really good kill potential on a Lone Druid actually. Like, you don't have Root. Even if you Orb Venom, they have a surge into an Iron Shield Jug with Spin, which is 150 DPS at like level 3. Plus another Iron Shield on the Darkseer.
That's the other thing. Looking at the way Rattlesnake landed, they went for a weird offensive. Sometimes they do the Darkseer Clockwork. This was Darkseer Juggernaut.
Yeah, that was a pretty cute aggressive like dual lane actually. I really like that. It's very well tailored for the Lone Druid.
Yes.
And I think
it also, even if they go up against the tri-lane, they do okay. What if they get the tri-lane and the Queen of Pain, Nyx get the off-lane Lone Druid?
I felt if they get a tri-lane, then Darkseer can just go to a jungle.
Okay.
Jug's not a terrible sack hero. Yeah, he can sort of force a couple levels maybe, and then Healing Word will always be useful. Omni Slash, it does extra damage based if you have enough attacks to do extra attacks, but it still does that pretty high base damage.
Do you think the game goes better for Vici Gaming if they went with the safe lane tri-lane? Because then they just have Lone Druid as an off-lane.
Yes, I do, because I felt like Rattlesnake. Luke's confusing me with like Rattlestars and Rising Snake. But I felt like Rattlesnake,
poster boards or something.
Rattlesnake couldn't really prevent the bear from pulling it. Yeah. And he would have been able to just pull pretty freely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just Nyx Assassin support can't really do anything to the bear.
And I mean, Jug Darkseer, it's sort of cute, but I don't think it's winning against that tri-lane at all.
Okay. Well, guys, that concludes the Game 1 analysis. We'll be taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll see if Rattlesnake can do what I predicted, the 2-0 victory of Rising Stars, Vici Gaming. Blame Loomis, or whether Vici Gaming will bounce back and CTY ZSMJ's team can strike back, take Game 2, and force a Game 3. We'll take a quick break and be back soon.